Hello and welcome back to Midweek Fixture. I am Louis Sellin. I am joined by Annabel once again today. It is episode 32. We've had a few weeks off because the season's end and there wasn't that much to talk about. But the second round of the summer transfer window, not January, summer transfer window opens today, Monday. And we're just going to be talking about a couple of the completed deals, a couple of the rumours, close deals that happened in the first window for the Club World Cup. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. We'll start on the done deals and then we'll go with the rumours after. So I'll let you kick it off with your first one and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I kind of did it in order of importance to me in terms of how big of a signing it was. So I went with Liam Delap as my number one. So we'll sort of start high and then I guess get not even less interesting. I think, as you said, there's been so many exciting ones. But Liam Delap to Chelsea obviously sticks out as a striker when they've obviously already got Nicholas Jackson. It was a £30 million signing, which I actually think is quite a good price for a striker of his magnitude after what he did for Ipswich. And yeah, he's there until 2031. And obviously he's only 22 years old, so they've obviously got him for a long time. And not during his prime. Me and you were discussing about ages, and prime obviously comes in, we said around 27 to 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
27's when you're at your peak.
Yeah. But to be 22 and then obviously have the next few years, it's kind of hopefully see him progress a lot and potentially, as we were discussing again, win them titles. I'm more cautious about whether that will actually happen, but I know you think with the young squad they've got, that could come into fruition in the next few seasons. But yeah, I mean, a few stats. Obviously, he got 12 goals last season and 2 assists in 37 Premier League appearances, which may not sound like a lot, but I actually think that is quite impressive considering the team he was in and just how difficult the Premier League is as a step up sort of thing. And yeah, obviously a physical striker. I think that's something that we need to see more and more of now in the Premier League, because it is a very physical league. I think that's what a lot of players who have joined have said. And yeah, strong ball carrying abilities, obviously a goal scoring threat because he scored so many, runs in and behind defenders across them. I also believe he's quite good with both feet, which I think is a really important attribute to have now. If you want to make it at the top, you can't just have one favoured foot, which I think is really important. Obviously, good attacking on loose balls, anything like that. He's obviously just that sort of poacher. And yeah, it's interesting, as I said, with Jackson though, because his contract's till 2033. But it'll be interesting to see how much game time he now gets. I'm not sure if you have a kind of thought on that.
Well, I mean, it depends who else Chelsea bring in because I know they're looking at that Watermard and Ekatike supposedly. I mean, I do think you need 3 strikers if you want to compete at the top.
Yeah.
Because one gets injured, you got the other 2 rotating, and just rotation in general, playing in European football as well, plus the League Cup, plus the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So I think they'll probably play a fair amount of minutes.
Okay.
At the moment, Delap is probably... I don't know. I like Jackson. 50-50 on them at the moment.
Yeah, I would say for me, Delap's the favourite to play more games. I'd like to see him develop. I don't know how old Jackson is in comparison, but I feel like you don't want to stunt someone's growth.
They're like the same age, aren't they?
Oh, are they?
Jackson's
Okay, so interesting then, because they're at that same, as you said, point in their career.
Jackson might be a couple of years older, but he's not old.
No, exactly.
I don't know. I think I like Jackson's profile slightly more than Delap's.
Yeah, in what way?
It's a bit more athletic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say agility. They're quite different.
Yeah, I think so. But they'll play a fair amount each, and it just depends. If they spend 100 million euros on Ekatike, then kind of probably will be the starter. Walter Marday, if they get him in, he has to be the starter with his profile that's tall, strong, athletic, really good on the ball, very clinical.
Yeah.
But it just depends that way. But Delap should play.
100%. And also I think the service is going to help a lot better because obviously they've got Pedro Neto as their winger. You've also got Cole Palmer sort of in the midfield and then Madueke. So what a team to be joining.
Well, I mean, they want to get rid of Madueke. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, half their squad they've said we're happy to sell.
Yeah.
There's only a couple they said untouchable, such as Palmer, Fernandez.
Caicedo, surely.
Yeah, Caicedo's untouchable.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it should be good.
I'm surprised he went there. I mean, I would have personally preferred him to go to, Everton.
Okay.
Guaranteed starter.
Yeah.
Fits exactly how Everton play. Just Chelsea could, as you say, stunt him a little bit.
I think it's money and trophies, though. I think that's always the pool that we've sort of seen with players. I mean, when we were talking about Yazan Ayari yesterday, I was shocked as you weren't because players potentially want that allure of the bigger clubs. But yeah, I think he kind of sees it as a step up to Chelsea, whereas not that Everton's a sidestep because of Ipswich obviously have now been relegated, but I think he wants an even bigger step up.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends how Marissa goes with next season.
Yeah.
And it depends. It just depends on injuries as well, I suppose. If Jackson and they bring in a new striker both get injured, then he's going to play loads.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, and it will just come down to who's playing better at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how it's going to go. But we'll go on to my first one.
Yeah.
I've got quite a few down. I'll mention a few quickly. Courtney Clark was an interesting one. Moved from Eastbourne to Walsall on an undisclosed compensation. So that'll be interesting. He's a 22-year-old wing-back. Will be really interesting to see how he does in league football. We've also got Ilyas Ansah, Paderborn to Union Berlin for about £3.5 million. Thought that was a really interesting move. Be interesting to see how he does in the Bundesliga. But we're going to talk about Brighton first because it's top of my list. Haralampos or Babis, Kostelos, Olympiacos to Brighton for about a €35 million package, about 30 million plus £2-3 million add-ons. One of Brighton's most expensive ever signings, 18-year-old Greek wonder kid, has been labelled as Greek's biggest talent.
Wow.
So he obviously in his interview said he doesn't listen to that label. It doesn't matter to him. He just wants to play, do his best and win trophies.
Yeah, I think that's a good attitude to have, especially because he's going to have so much sort of on him. I think that sort of price tag. When I come on to Dean Huijsen, not sure how exactly you pronounce his surname, but yeah, obviously being a Spaniard going over to Madrid, it's sort of a big move, but he said he isn't even considering the price tag and sort of the pressure that comes with. So that's sort of linked in my mind with, as you said, Kostelos' move to Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, fans will always look at the price tag as a problem. I mean, when it was supposedly 40 million, Brighton fans were saying, no, you can't do that, it's stupid. And then it was 30, 35, they were like, yeah, amazing. Well, I mean, it's like 5 million difference, which is absolutely nothing in the world of football.
Yeah, exactly,
so,
and to get a talent like that.
It's not your money either, so why does it matter?
Very true. I mean, yeah, I guess tickets sort of pay for all of that, but that's more their wages, so... And he should be on a good wage because, as you said, he's a very exciting talent from Olympiacos.
Yeah, I mean, the competition we had, Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal, all of that lot wanted him. So it was good we got it done quickly, got it done in the first window. Very important because if we let it go on for too long, then another club will come in. But it will link up with Stefanos Tsitsipas, two of the top 3 most expensive Greek players of all time.
Yeah. Impressive. And plus, as you said, that link up.
Yeah, really interesting to see if they both start. They are same positions. Kostelos can play as a 10, but predominantly as a number 9. But yeah, Kostelos is the most expensive Greek player of all time. So that obviously another thing that's going to be on his shoulders. There's a lot of expectation from Brighton fans. I mean, the Greeks that have watched him play are very happy that he's leaving the league because he's that good, supposedly.
Okay.
Obviously, Olympiacos fans are very disappointed that he's left. But he scored 7 goals last season in his 30-odd appearances, which is not bad for your first season in professional football, and then to seal that move. I mean, it's one of them where he's either going to score like 20 goals or none.
Really? You think it's that? I sort of would lean towards more like none. I mean, I don't want to put off all Brighton fans, obviously including yourself, but then with 20 goals, I think that's difficult for any striker to do who's even been established in the Premier League for a while because of how tough it is. And I think that's where the, inaccurate expectations come in from fans of him to like hit the ground running. I'm like, that isn't necessarily going to happen. But yeah, I'd hope him to get more than 0. I think he'd get a few, but it won't be more than 10.
I mean, if he can get 10 goals, 10 assists, I'll be very happy with that first
season.
I
think that's really impressive, especially the assist side of things, because that shows he can help out other teammates. But yeah, 10 as a first season would be incredible, considering we don't even know how much he's going to play yet.
No, I mean, Welbeck got 10 goals last season. That was his first time ever in his career. He's got 10 goals in a season.
Yeah,
it was really interesting there.
But he joint top goal scorer as well with Pedro, so your highest had 10. So if you're asking Kostelos in his first season to get 10... That is a big ask, considering that was the highest in Brighton's.
Well, he's got that price tag, so...
Yeah, that is true.
Ever seen a player as confident as him in his first interview with the club, ever.
Oh, really?
He was
Wow.
his English was fantastic for someone that's
Oh,
18 and been
yeah.
In Greece his whole life, and he was just so chill about it. Like, yeah, I come here, I want to win trophies, I want to play at the highest level. I know how difficult the league is, but do my best every week.
Brilliant. That's the attitude you need for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, we shall see. That'd be. I mean, I want him to do well. Obviously, I think he will do well. He's got that aura about him where it looks
Mm,
like he's gonna hit the ground running. Well, we'll see soon in pre-season. But
exactly.
on to your second pick.
Yes, I think this is how you pronounce his name. I should have checked. This is one thing I want to do more of is Google the person's name of how to say it, rather than just all the facts that I sort of, researched prior. But I think it's Angel Gomez to
Yeah,
Marseille on a free transfer, which is obviously brilliant for them to get him with no fee. Obviously, these days all the fees are rising. 24-year-old midfielder as well. Very versatile, has been like deployed in different positions. So you've got like central and then wide as well in midfield. Obviously more of an attacker, I believe. But yeah, 14 league matches he played last season. I think he was on loan first to Boavista, then he came back to Lille. So he's a Lille player joining Marseille, but during his last season, which was with Lille, yeah, he got 1 goal and 1 assist in 14 league matches, which obviously isn't great, but you're considering he's only played 14, so it's harder to make an influence in that. But I guess he's also for the future, being 24. We've still got his prime to come. And yeah, he was part of the English youth teams as well. 4 senior caps under Lee Carsley as well, which I wasn't even too like sure until, as I said, I did my research. So he's already been involved in the England setup. So that's exciting for us as fans, and obviously to keep an eye on how he does at Marseille. Yeah, they finished second in the league, didn't they, as well, League on to PSG. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he can do now with Marseille as that step up from Lille. Because I think Lille finished, I've got fifth here, so obviously slightly lower down. So to try and join a team who are now trying to compete for the title will be very interesting to see if he can be that contributing factor to them trying to win, yeah, the French league.
yeah. I mean, as you said, the England caps. I think that's very important. I thought he was
Yeah.
fantastic when he played for England under Carsley. I mean, I don't think he'll probably ever get a call off again because Tuchel
Mm.
doesn't seem to be going with him and his squad, which is fair enough.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a really interesting profile because he's very small. He's
Yeah.
mostly defensive, which I was surprised
Oh,
about. I always thought
really?
he was an attacking player, but he played
Yeah.
quite deep for England. He's
Mm.
strong. He's good on the ball. But Marseille is an interesting one with Roberto De Zerbi.
Yes, I was about to
He
say. Yeah. Yeah.
has his ways, and if Gomez doesn't fit that, then it could go wrong for him.
Mm.
I haven't
Yeah.
watched too much of him. I liked what I saw in the England setup. Very nimble, sort of like a Kante, I suppose, which
Yeah.
could fit De Zerbi's style. I
Mm.
mean, they've got some fantastic players at Marseille. One who I will not name, but
Yes.
still a fantastic footballer.
He was a joint top goal scorer last season, I think, in the league with
Yeah,
Ousmane Dembele. Both
yeah,
got 21 league goals, I think, which is
yeah,
pretty impressive. But yeah.
ridiculous footballer.
Mm.
Unfortunately, what happened, but
Yeah.
um, Gomez obviously joining. But they had a big clear out. Unahi looks to be going potentially to Brighton,
Yeah.
and his interview he did where he said he didn't work hard enough. That's something that Gomez will have to do with De Zerbi. If you don't work, you're out the door.
Yep.
But you can't complain on a free transfer for an England international that has experience in the league already,
Yep. For sure.
and he might help Marseille compete for the title. Very unlikely because
Mm.
it's once in a blue moon that PSG don't win that league.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Especially
guess it just
now.
makes it more competitive though, hopefully. Like gives them a little bit more of an edge. Obviously I'm sure PSG with all their squad don't really need any strengthening, but hopefully it can help them in some way.
Yeah, I mean PSG. This is for me. I think I've
Mm.
been watching football 10 years, 11 years. This is probably the strongest PSG squad I've ever seen, and it's actually a
Yeah.
team now. It's not your
Team
Messi, your
style.
Neymar, your Mbappe
Yeah.
playing on their own. It's these players are a squad, and they'll win a Champions League final 5-0
Yeah. Yeah, that was incredible.
against a team that doesn't really concede.
No, and the dominance they showed as well it was crazy. The game was over before it even begun. I think as a fan we were all a bit like underwhelmed in a way because we thought it was going to be a tightly contested final. But credit to them, I don't think we ever see a 5-0 scoreline.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
I was very surprised when Man United let go of Gomez.
Okay.
Good player in their youth teams, but it's
Yeah.
always it's kind of it's really difficult to break through in England
Mhm.
because the best players in the league aren't English.
No, it's very true. We like our foreign investment. And then, as you said, you can make it through the academy so far and then still not break in. Because I did see that when I was doing my research. He was at United. I was like, where did that sort of go wrong? Because, as you said, he's an English talent. But yeah,
Yeah.
foreign players sort of seem to be taking impetus over homegrown.
But that's why they all go abroad. Gomez went to France,
Yeah,
Sancho went to Germany, Bellingham went to Germany.
true.
Got a lot of these young English players that are sort of clocking on to the fact that they're going to get more minutes abroad than they are over here, which is a whole problem for another video with how little time is given to academy players in most clubs. I mean, I think Brighton do it quite well, giving academy players a chance. City are starting to really invest in their academy.
Mm.
The
I was going to say, I'd say so, yeah.
I mean, you've got that, I forgot his name, striker coming in from PSG, 18 years old, on a free, with one of the top talents.
Oh, wow.
But he's just playing them because he's not going to play over Erling Haaland, is he, or Mamouche?
No, exactly. That's what we saw with Delap when Delap was coming through. He played a few games, and I thought he's impressive here. And then obviously he goes off to join Ipswich, and I was really disappointed. But then again, you've got to consider the fact that we've got Erling Haaland, and obviously brought in Mamouche. You're like, is he ever going to actually play anyway? And at that point, I think we had Julian Alvarez as well. So just the amount of players who can contribute in attacking areas, they're not really going to get a chance. I mean, same with Cole Palmer. I'm gutted about that, but we sort of gave him that ultimatum because he wanted a loan move. We were like, you either stay or you go. But yeah, that's the cutthroat nature, I guess, is as you said, you can be English, you can come through the academy, but you're still not necessarily going to make it in a first team full of stars.
I mean, I don't think Palmer would have been as good as he is because he just wouldn't have played at City like he did at Chelsea.
Exactly.
So
I think yeah,
big of a loss, really.
it limits creativity as well. I think with City, we've definitely discussed this off pod in terms of what's happening with certain players like Grealish. Obviously, it's not all down to Pep. I don't agree with that at all. But I definitely think with another setup that favours like a player around the team, sort of with Jack Grealish, where he was the main focal point at Villa. I think that almost helps Palmer as well. But yeah, he's excelled there. I'm very happy for him. He's impressive to watch.
I mean, I personally think it's all down to Pep.
You really do. All like 100%.
Yep.
Interesting. I mean, yes, his style of play, to be honest, but I think he also does want creativity. Otherwise, how are we going to get the service to the likes of Erling Haaland in the box? So I think he sort of wants the two.
He doesn't let players express themselves. Watch Ryan Cherky for France and Lyon. Watch him in 12 months' time at City.
We'll see. I think, yeah, that's sort of true. That's sort of the narrative is that could happen. I really hope it doesn't. Because as I said, we have seen that with a lot of players. But then look at Mahrez. Mahrez used to have so much flair. And that's because he was actually good at producing the end product and not losing the ball. Because that's Pep's biggest fear, that limits creativity. But it's your own ability to hold that ball and do with it what you will. So
you're not going to improve that if he doesn't let them do it.
But Mahrez, he let Mahrez do that. I don't think he's changed his philosophy that much. That's Pep's been stubborn since the beginning of time, But
you're not changing Mahrez. Like, he's not going to pass the ball backwards. Whereas he's been so drilled into the likes of Doku, Savinho. Like, you get the ball. If it's not 100% you're going to beat him, you pass it backwards.
Yeah, I do think that's part of it. I just think in terms of successful wingers, we're questioning more Pep now and the fact that we've got limited ability or creativity because the ability of Doku and Savinho to be creative isn't there. I mean, I guess it's a two-way street, but I just think prior wingers had more success and it was still under the same manager, if you get me. So I don't think it's 100%.
He let them do it. He let them play with expression. He's got so into his own system now.
Yeah.
So wants to be perfect that it ends up being rubbish.
Yeah, potentially that as well. I think it's 80-20.
Look at Marmouche's goal against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Pep's probably thinking, what are you doing?
Well, he'll take it at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I get you. Maybe he wouldn't like that. But so many moments happen like that. Rodri against Villa. You've got Company against Leicester. I think the players have got to take it on themselves too. Almost like, also, if we're saying that they're heavily structured, this is going off on a quick point, but the Palace final FA Cup where Pep, you think he's so rigid and wants everyone doing certain things and he has his head like looking over everyone like an aerial presence. I don't think with the penalty at the final where he said, they can decide on pitch, that was him sort of making his decision. That was on the players. So to an extent, that's sort of what I'm coming at is the players have also got to make their own decisions.
Completely different. A penalty is very different to making a decision about letting a player take a player on or pass the ball backwards. It's not just...
But like with a shot, those shots we're talking about, that was a player going against Pep's system, but, taking on something ingenious and making it happen.
Yes, exactly what a player should be doing, but Pep doesn't 100%. Like that.
Yeah, I know, and it is a shame. But as I said, I do think there is a leeway for players to take responsibility, like that company goal, like that Mamouche goal.
Players are too scared to do it because if they lose it,
Yeah.
it's going to kill them.
Yeah, it's crazy because Pep's also got so much confidence though in different areas where he's quite mad and not so rigid, like when he brought John Stones into midfield throughout that treble winning season. That's something completely different, which is like not rigid and not we'll keep you at centre back because you're very good there. Like he was very good in that position. He
I don't
tried to
know.
do something else.
I think everyone could have
But I
said
get you.
that. Everyone said Stones should be playing in the midfield though.
It was unreal though. I don't think anyone predicted it to be used in that way so often and in the way that he contributed to that Champions League final in particular. But
I don't think it's just a Pep problem though. I
no,
do,
that's what I was saying.
as in, I think a lot of other managers do it.
Yeah, yeah, potentially.
We look at Enciso when he first joined us. He's popping shots from everywhere.
Yeah.
We don't want him doing it. We're trying to stop him from doing it, which is so boring. Just let him shoot. I mean,
Agreed.
he's not going to be our player next season, so it doesn't really matter anymore. But
Fine balance, I think, is what you'll find. It's a fine balance because you don't want them always to be taking on stupid shots that aren't going to go in. You want that mix.
I don't mind. I'd rather.
Really?
You're not going to score if you don't shoot.
No, good fact. But like, from where do you take that shot? That's, I guess, the
Wherever,
question.
if you back your ability to score from there or get something from it, you get a corner or the keeper pushes it out for a tap in, do it. Just shoot.
That's my main thing is the confidence to do it. You're saying that the players are scared. I'm
They
like,
are.
well, it's a confidence thing as well to be able to take on a player.
But they're only going to get confidence by doing it and taking a player on.
100%.
Look at Martinelli at Arsenal. Any South American really in the Premier League, they come in, they're like the best thing since sliced bread, doing all these tricks. Within 6 to 12 months, it's just boring. They get the ball, they have a look. Oh, the player there, now pass it backwards.
That's why I'm so thankful for Lamine Yamal, Desire Doué, don't know how to pronounce his name, because oh my god, they're a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, you just
No.
it wouldn't happen with.
No.
I'm hoping Tommy Watson. I'm not going to talk about him in the Dundee because but Tommy Watson, big, strong, 6'3" winger. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Gets the ball and likes to drive. You saw his goal in the playoff final.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, I don't think that happens because he would have been told that it's too much of a risk in the last minute of a game to do that. You just recycle possession. I hope we don't take that away from him because that is his game, getting the ball and driving. Look at Matoma as well. He started to do it a little bit where he's sort of going backwards a little bit more now, which is really frustrating.
Yep.
But we shall see.
Exactly.
On to the next one. Another winger here. One that you'll be able to talk about.
Oh.
Leroy Sané.
Mhm.
Bayern Munich to Galatasaray on a free.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Was probably one of the best wingers I've ever seen at Manchester City. Was exactly what we were talking about. A player that just got the ball and took someone on and expressed themselves. Did very well at the start of his Bayern career. Sort of trailed off a little bit and he's taken the Turkey move. Fair enough. Probably getting a fair bit of money in his pocket. And, I mean, a lot of players look to be going to Turkey. Gundogan.
Yes.
Yesterday. Fenerbahce trying to sign Cole Walker. So, Turkey might be a fun league to watch next season.
Yeah. I don't know what the pull is. As I said, I'm not too, clued up on the Turkish league. But, as you said, there's quite a few players who are interested in going over there. Unless it is just a money thing. Not sure.
I mean, they'll be getting a fair bit of money. Kebabs.
Yeah. Wait, who did you say?
Kebabs.
Kebabs?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about a player there. Okay, fair.
So, I mean, Osimhen went to Turkey.
Yeah.
And that was a big surprise.
Exactly. They're trying to pull more players over there. It's almost like Saudi. Well, maybe not that same stature.
What's the difference?
But what is the difference?
Saudi paying big wages.
Yes.
Older players. What's the difference? Turkey doing it.
That's true. Yeah, maybe Saudi. Yeah, but Saudi are going to potentially move to that sort of idea like Turkey is in bringing in younger players when they're better rather than just this retirement sort of label.
John Duran's kind of been rubbish. I mean, they're trying to loan him out. They want to loan him out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How does that happen, though? Because he was so good. I was shocked when he left Villa. I was like, why are you going over to Saudi?
I don't blame.
Money,
You can't pass that sort of money up. You just can't.
Yeah. Didn't Kevin De Bruyne? I don't know how strong those links were. It was more America.
Okay, what's De Bruyne's like 30-something? What is he? 33, 34?
Yeah. I think, I would have said 32. Maybe it's like 34.
He's been in the Premier League for years. At City, he's set for life already, so he doesn't need to. John
Yeah,
Duran's what, 22, something like that.
I think it depends if you have kids as well, and like how old your family are, things like that. There's a lot of factors that come into a move.
He can then go over to Saudi for 2-3 years, secure
Yeah.
the bag, set himself up for life, and then he can come back to Europe, and he's still 25, 26.
But to be going out on loan, that's a big question I'm after. Is like, how has he done so poor for such a supposedly poor level league?
But it's not. It's not a poor level league. When you watch it,
Mm,
and the climate and the environment just doesn't really. Sometimes it just doesn't work,
yeah, true.
and they're probably paying Ronaldo even more wages, so they need to take a percentage off everyone else.
Considering he's staying as well, I was surprised at that. I was hoping him
Yeah,
and Messi would somehow link up in some sort of lifetime, but
never gonna happen.
no.
But
It's a
right, back
shame.
to back to Sane. How do you think
Yeah,
that's going
yeah.
to go in Turkey?
As I said, I don't know too much about Galatasaray. I've heard of them a few times, but I haven't ever watched them, so I'm not quite sure. But I think it's nice that Gundogan and Leroy Sané are linking up again. As you said, that City sort of link up was brilliant back in, well, from when I was watching 2018-19, but even prior. So, yeah, I don't really know. I imagine he'll do really well. I think he'd excel in any league. You know, he was interested, or there was interest from Arsenal, so he is still of a top level. I think he almost revitalised his career at Bayern because at one point I think a lot of City fans were starting to get frustrated with him, or at least that was sort of my feeling from when I'd started to become a fan. Is he had that big moment, which I always remember when he scored against Liverpool when we won that crucial game at the Etihad 2-1, where he cuts it across and it hits in off the post. But apart from that, there were a lot of times where him and Sterling in particular as our wingers, you should just take on players and lose the ball, or put in a ball to no one, which is sort of what we're seeing with Doku at this moment in time. But that was sort of my opinion on Sane, and I feel like when he went to Bayern, I've only heard good things, and potentially we were going to bring him back at one point. So I'm sure he'll do really well for Galatasaray, although I don't know, because we've now seen that with Duran in Saudi. So
I mean, I disagree with your point about the ball to no one.
really, in what regard? Do you think it's the forward's fault?
He's putting the ball into the box.
Yeah.
Why is
Yeah,
that?
but it's the thing of like look up and pick someone out. When someone does that, oh, Doku did that
You
the other
don't have
day.
the
It was
time.
brilliant.
You don't have
They don't
the
have
time.
time. But I think if you master that skill, in my eyes, that is what takes you from being an average winger to like even more top.
Look at De Bruyne. He doesn't look.
Yes, but that's a naturally God-given talent, or also he will if he needs to. I personally think.
Puts it in the box, and Haaland's there.
I don't know if it's that simple because think about it. When Kevin wasn't playing this season, there wasn't as much service to Haaland. Haaland didn't score as much. That because there was no one else who was as good as De Bruyne at laying it on a plate.
But
Whether he looks or not is another question, I guess.
Haaland was also half his level this season, and was many times I watched him where he's not in his position where he would be the season before to tap it in and get on.
Yeah, I think there's so many factors though. I feel like when people compare the treble season, which is like the peak of Manchester City and one of the best teams you'll ever see, comparing it to now where it's like a completely different team and we had players playing out of position, then you had these two new wingers come in. I think that also makes it really difficult to judge a striker's level. I don't know.
But I just even the season before
Mm.
23-24, Haaland was bang on form in the
Oh
box
yeah,
position. There's many times this season I've watched Doku get the ball. He's put a brilliant ball in the box, flashed
yeah.
across the front of goal, and Haaland's on the halfway line still.
Yeah, and Haaland's missed a lot of sitters, but I do think that's coming from being out of practice. As a striker, knows, well, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but
Yeah,
you've got to constantly be having that sort of same practice and that consistency of service. If he doesn't have that, he's not going to be as akin to score those sorts of acrobatic finishes we saw him score last season. So,
but
well,
it's
the
not
treble season.
slightly worrying that
Mm,
literally within 6 months his positioning
yeah.
has gone from 100 to 0.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I honestly, again, maybe it's Pep. I don't really know how he's sort of coaching him to do what sort of runs, etc. I know we've trialled him and Moosh. I think that could be a future thing. But even then, you're sacrificing a sort of another player, and
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
he's slightly changing up that system.
I mean,
So
he'll probably go with two cams now, Cherky
mm,
and Marmoush behind Haaland.
yes, I think that would work better because then obviously you've got your two wingers. But then I even favour Moosh on the wing to Savinho and Doku at this moment in time. You
Marmoush
wouldn't.
Marmoush on the wing is just not it.
I'd favour him over Savinho at this
No,
point in
he's
time.
not it on the wing. You need him in that full position, striking.
Mm.
But right, on to your next pick.
Well, it works out perfectly because you were just talking about them two going in behind it with Mamouche and Cherky in behind Haaland. And yeah, my next one is Cherky. Couldn't not mention him as probably the marquee signing out of the three for Manchester City so far. Yeah, signed until 2030, so that's great to hear. We always tend to do players on a 5-year deal. Obviously, they can leave prior to that, but it's nice to know we sort of have this 21-year-old committing to us for quite a long time. 30 million, which I think is an absolute steal. I think a lot of people are saying that move from Lyon to Manchester City, could have been way more, but of course it's 30 million, which is brilliant to see. And yeah, he's a product of the Lyon Youth Academy, which I didn't know, so he's actually been there for so many years. So to try something completely different and join the Prem, I think I'm just grateful that he's interested in us, because of course we've seen a different sort of story with Wirtz choosing Liverpool. But yeah, obviously scored in his debut, I think it was, against Spain recently, Nations League. So yeah, incredible player. 1 goal in 2 caps isn't a bad stat. And then 29 goals in, I've got here 45 assists as well in 146 Lyon appearances. That's obviously throughout his entire career, but those stats speak for themselves as obviously being a really exciting prospect. Hasn't played in the Champions League though. I noted this down since 2019-20 season when Lyon were in the Champions League. So I guess that's a sort of question of, can he hit those higher heights? Can he impress on the European stage? But I think amongst an experienced City side, hopefully that will be the case. But yeah, I think he's brilliant. Known to take players on, which is something we need. He's got flair. And I think that's what we saw in his interview as well. A bit like you were saying with Koustaoulas, he's very confident and wants to play his sort of style of play. So I hope, as we were discussing earlier, that doesn't get sort of sucked out from him by Pep.
Well, I mean, I'm very confident that his style is going to be sucked out of him. It always happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously fantastic player, as we said. Has impressed on the European stage recently.
Okay, how come?
Lyon against Man United.
Oh, of course. Yes, Europa. Yeah, that's true. Did he score in that match? I watched it, but my memory...
He scored 2, 1, 2. Played very well. Played very, very well. And he also beat United, which is quite funny.
True. Yes, that whole debacle with his celebration, yeah.
But the fee was very cheap, which concerns me.
How come?
As we've spoken about.
Yes.
There's underlying problems. There has to be. Why a player of his ability is available for £30 million and nobody else has gone for him?
Yeah, that is true. I think you were saying there was some sort of arrogance problem, which I Googled. I mean, obviously, sources aren't always reliable, but some were just saying he's taken the wrong way because of his confidence and because of his ability, or some sort of narrative. So I guess you've got those two divided opinions where some people think he's objectively arrogant, has got issues, attitude problems. But you've also got other people saying, oh, he's being perceived in a certain way due to his confidence.
Potentially, £30 million for a player of his quality, and the only club that were going for him.
Yeah, actually Liverpool. Apparently Liverpool at one point were trying to swoop in, and I was concerned, obviously, as a fan.
As a backup for Wirtz, if that didn't go through.
Yes, I would personally choose Wirtz if I was Liverpool. So I understand why he was their backup option, especially with City sort of trying to push that deal through quickly.
I'd pick Cherki, but.
Yeah, I think for Liverpool, I also saw people saying that Liverpool and City would have actually suited the other signing. So like City would have suited Wirtz more than Cherki to Liverpool, which I sort of see as well.
I agree, but I think a player of his ability, his profile, shouldn't be in the Premier League.
When was his contract? I want to look when his contract was, unless that has affected it.
No, he's been available at this price for like 3 windows.
Yeah, see, that is interesting then. I want to know, people should be finding this information out for us. We're sat here speculating, but surely that's a story within its own right.
Well, Fulham were very interested, but that fell through for unknown reasons, I think.
We don't know then. All I know is he's a fantastic player, and I'd like to see him excel. Obviously, as you said, there's that concern that he may lose, his creativity, but he's a brilliant talent at the moment. Decisive passing, obviously strong at set pieces, which we've lost Kevin for that sort of ability. Although we have got Mamouche. Both feet again, can shoot. So, yeah, really good addition, I think, because obviously we've seen Gundogan leave, Bernardo's older. It's exciting to see. But I don't know, as you said, a lot of these players sort of lose their creativity. But I hope this won't catch Cherki.
I hope not, but
no.
The system, as we said, it's not nailed on that it's going to happen. But hopefully, with these new players you have now, it won't happen. It'll be a bit more expansive like it was in the treble season.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Only time will tell on that one. But next up is a player that's going to link very nicely into another one that I know you have on your list. And that is, I'm not even going to try and say his first name, but that is Kelleher. Liverpool to Brentford for about, what was it, 12 million, 13 million?
Oh, wow.
Maybe 15, around that price with add-ons and stuff. Very controversial opinion.
Oh.
I don't rate Kelleher at all.
Okay.
Alisson is like the best goalkeeper in the world. So he's going to struggle to get in over Alisson.
Yeah.
But every time I've watched him play live, average.
Yeah. Personally, yeah, I would say the same. I mean, he's not as bad as Adrian. Oh my god, when I used to watch him, the amount of howlers he'd make. But yeah, I'm not convinced entirely, especially with the stature that they're sort of giving him with his move. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
I mean, if he was that good, do you think Liverpool would have only wanted 10
True.
to 15 million pounds?
Very true. Yeah. I guess just to get him minutes, just to get him gone, sort of thing.
He's a
But
good goalkeeper, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's as good as people say he is. I mean, Brighton played Liverpool away, I want to say 21. I mean, the ball's come in the box, it's hit Alsace's shin and gone straight at him and he's let it in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I personally think Brentford are going to struggle big time next season.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about more when we do a predictions video, but you've losing Mbuemo.
Yeah.
You've lost Thomas Frank. You've lost a player that we're going to talk about in a minute on your list.
Yeah.
Wisa, potentially to Forest.
True. Yes. That's a big one.
That's like 50, what was it? 50, no, just under 50 goal contributions.
Yeah, goals. Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying they're going to go down, but it's going to be close.
Yeah.
If they don't replace properly.
Exactly. And as you were saying to me, it's even harder to replace those sort of players for the stature that they've brought without, as you said, spending a lot of money as well.
Yeah, and Buemo's going to be like 60 million.
Yeah.
To replace a player straight away with those goal contributions, you're spending 50, 60. And a 50, 60 million pound player is going to be on hundreds of £1,000s wages, which Brentford are not going to do. Because it's not their model. They can't afford to do that. Because if it goes wrong, they're in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. Brentford could be a wild card for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think they will be. Another one, well, which we'll talk about again in a minute, is Bournemouth.
Yes.
But on to your next one, which links very nicely to Kelleher.
Yeah. Mark Flecken to Leverkusen, which I think is a great deal because I think Mark Flecken has been brilliant. I think there's dual opinions on him, but when I watched him play City in particular, he was frustrating, so that sort of sticks in my mind personally. But yeah, he went for 11 million, which isn't much at all if you're saying that Kelleher, who obviously hasn't had much game time, has gone for around 15. But he is 31 years old, so I think that sort of comes into play as well. Not sure how old Kelleher is, but I'm pretty sure he's in his 20s. Yeah. Not sure what age. But yeah, so 31-year-old goalkeeper. But I was looking at their current one with Leverkusen. They've got a player who's, I think, 35, Lucas, I cannot pronounce his surname, Hararedeki. Yes. So I'm surprised about that in terms of I think he's been their key goalkeeper for a while. But then again, as you said, that sort of age maybe means they're going to stray more toward Flecken. Not sure.
I mean, goalkeeper peak, the age isn't 27.
Would you say it's like the 30s?
Yeah, in your 30s.
Yeah.
A bit longer of a career as a goalkeeper. Flecken, personally, again, a bit hit and miss for me.
Okay.
Can produce the best performance you've ever seen, or the worst performance you've ever seen. I mean, he gets in the Dutch team, it's all right, linking up with Erik ten Hag, a Dutch manager, at Leverkusen. Leverkusen have got some, I mean, there's going to be a big task to replace Xavi Alonso, but...
Yeah, no, it's true. But no, I think he is a good signing. I mean, as you said, it's hit or miss. From what I've seen of him, he's had some good performances, and then potentially not some outstanding ones as well. But he made the most saves in the Premier League last season, which I don't know if that is more to do with the fact that maybe Brentford's defence isn't so watertight, but you've got 153 saves there, with the closest to him I think was Ramsdale, with 125. So that's a big gap in terms of how much Flecken has been made to work in between the Brentford sticks, and save percentage is 73.6. Don't know how much you can rely on that stat. I mean, there's differing ones across different sites, but 73.6 is pretty high in my eyes. I don't know if you'd say so. Yeah. But unfortunately, he has also conceded the fourth most goals in the Premier League, just because, as I said, of Brentford's sort of nature of 55. So you're just thinking about the sheer amount of different attempts he's had to contend with, because he's making the most saves, but also conceding the most goals. I mean, I think it bodes well in terms of at least he's had a lot of experience, sort of thing. I guess that's why Leverkusen are looking to strengthen in that way, because they obviously fell away in the Bundesliga. They were quite a few points behind in the end. Wasn't it like 13 or something?
Yeah,
the gap was quite big. But he was Brentford's player of the month in February as well, so he's obviously won some accolades for some of his outstanding performances. So no, I think it's going to be an interesting move. As you said, it's going to hinder Brentford for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Leverkusen, they're kind of in a transition now. Frimpong's gone, Wirtz has gone, Jonathan Tah's gone.
Yes.
So we'll see how they do under Ten Hag. I think they'll do well under Ten Hag.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Ten Hag is such a wild card of a manager. I don't
Ten
know
Hag,
if that's just me.
Fantastic manager. One of the best managers. Was unbelievable at Ajax.
True.
Shouldn't have gone to United. Should have gone elsewhere. Because it always goes wrong at Man United.
Exactly.
Got out United. He won them an FA Cup, no? Like...
Oh, yes, true, sorry. I'm just thinking there, yeah, he did. Against City as well, yeah.
I mean, that's quite impressive with what's been going on at United.
True, yeah.
And he'll do very well in the Bundesliga. But Flecken, I mean, you can't really complain for £10 million. Goalkeeper in his 30s. Even if he doesn't start and is back up for Hradecki, still not a bad deal. But moving on, we're going to continue with United here. Matthias Cunha, Wolves to United for a £62.5 million release clause. Oh, I hope it goes well for him because he's a fantastic player.
He is.
It's just Man United at the moment. It never goes well, new signings.
No.
They get Mbeumo and Cunha and Mbeumo flop, then they should just give up.
Yeah. I think Mbeumo shouldn't go. Aren't they trying to get him at Tottenham now that Thomas Frank's joined, or has that gone a bit quiet?
Yeah, but he wants United, so...
I don't understand that whatsoever. United have not got a trophy in them in the next few seasons. I see Spurs already winning Europa. So...
Spurs winning Europa?
No, as in Spurs won Europa League. So, like, I can see them carrying on sort of that success, or at least having a bit more confidence in the ability to win a trophy in this modern era. Whereas with United, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I just wouldn't.
Really interesting season for United. If Adrian gets the players he needs to play a back three, then I think it could go well. I think they'll be back in the top 10.
Yes. Is that good for United, though? This is a question as well, because of their stature. You've almost got to put that aside now from these past few seasons and just say, top 10 is a good improvement. But for United as a club stature, 10th is not a good move.
I didn't say 10th, I said top 10.
I wouldn't go much higher than 10th.
I could see them getting European football next season.
I could see Amorim being sacked by Christmas.
I mean, it could go either way. I don't think they'll have a mid-season. It'll go either way.
Yeah. I'm just not convinced by Amorim. I'm not convinced by any manager. As you said, it's almost like a curse joining United, so I don't know.
I'm very convinced by Amorim. I love his style. I wanted him at Brighton.
I think, yes, his prior... prior success, yes, and his style, but I just don't think it will work with United. No, as I said, no manager comes like with Ten Hag from Ajax with good success and then makes it out alive, so to speak, with their reputation intact. I just don't think it happens for Amorim. But I don't know, as you said, if they recruit right. But at the moment, they're going for a lot of attackers. I thought, as you were saying, if they need the right defenders to make that back three happen.
They will, but they need a couple of players to play in those 10 roles. So I'm not surprised they got Cunha and trying to get him Mbeumo.
Because Garnacho is leaving as well, isn't he?
Yeah, very likely. And Mainu, potentially, as well.
Wow, okay. Yeah. That'd be a big miss for them. He's a talent.
Really? They don't want him anymore, apparently.
Oh, my. See, that's also where I think they're going wrong. Kobbie Mainu is such a good player. I think. He's impressed me a lot whenever I've watched him play.
Was in his first season. Second season, diabolical.
Well, flip-flop. We'll see.
Completely fell off a cliff.
When he leaves the club, trajectory goes back up.
It depends where he goes.
Exactly. But anywhere's better than United. Maybe.
We'll disagree on that.
We'll see. But yeah, it's a good move if they do get...
I think Cunha will do well. He was very good at a very poor Wolves team, even at the start of the season when they were very poor. Had a good end to the season. But I think he'll do well at United. They'll have a top 10 finish and that'll be it. But moving on to your next deal.
Scroll down. Also, last thing on that Hradecki, he was saying in an interview recently that he's getting old now. So I think that was the only quote that I saw, but potentially that suggests that he's going to be the first starter, Flecken. And also that they've strengthened at the back at least, because as you said, they're sort of in a transition. They bought centre-back Axel, I don't know if you say it's Tape or Tape, not quite sure. But he signed from PSG, so that's another another one, so hopefully they can close that gap. But my number 5 is the one we were talking to earlier about the big price tag, £50 million, most expensive defender that Real Madrid have ever signed in Dean Huijsen from Bournemouth. Until 2030, which is sort of similar with the Turkey deal. So yeah, obviously a commitment for a long while. But he's only 20, which is incredible. The stature that he's already got to, the fact he's joined Madrid, I think it's so impressive. But yeah, obviously really helped Bournemouth join them, I think just for one season, because he was at Roma on loan, I think, from Juventus. He was at Juventus in 2021 till 2024. Joined Bournemouth for a season, but actually went on loan recently before that to Roma. So he's been about, but he's obviously impressed and managed to get that move to Bournemouth, I take it. But yeah, obviously they did really well, finished 9th. I was looking at their concession stats in terms of goals, because obviously that can help understand how good a defender has really been. And they conceded 46 goals, which is actually less than Brighton, Villa and Newcastle, who all finished above them, which I thought was quite interesting. I mean, obviously it's not Huijsen alone, but to be that standout defender who's getting a move to Madrid, I think that was good to highlight. And obviously Kepa, who he's moved to Arsenal, or was it? Yeah, Arsenal, which is pretty cool. I don't know if they've announced that officially yet.
I don't think so.
No.
But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Huijsen, Juventus, no idea why they sold him to Bournemouth for 15 million.
Only 15 at the time, wow.
Ridiculous, stupid. And then
yeah.
they signed him back in January, and they were going to consider signing him back this window for loads more. So Juve's recruitment and sales at the moment has been all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, did it okay at Juve. Obviously, it was a big prospect there. Didn't get that much of a chance. They sold him to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Huijsen wanted to stay at Bournemouth for 2 years.
Yeah.
That was his plan.
But when Real Madrid come knocking, surely.
Yeah, and then he said it all changed. It all went crazy.
Yeah.
Arguably the best centre-back, one of, if not the best centre-back in the Premier League season. Xavi comes into Madrid, potentially play a back three.
Mm-hmm.
He played at Leverkusen, so we will see. But he's going to be a starter. He said he's their starting centre-back.
Wow.
Which is quite a lot of pressure at 19-20.
Yes. Yeah, no, it really is. And especially with the names, you're looking at like Rudiger, Asensio, like to be pushing them out of a centre-back role. That's pretty, impressive, as you said.
Really, though? If they're playing a 3, then...
Yeah, but then you've got, what, is that 2 centre-backs and a 3, or is it 3?
3 centre-backs.
Oh, wow, yeah, because you don't have full-backs then, do you, sort of thing?
No, you have the wing-backs, which will be
Trent obviously makes sense. And then, who's your other one? Not Vasquez.
That's they're trying
Mendy?
Yeah.
Ferland Mendy?
Or they're trying to sign another one.
Yeah, wow. But yeah, there you go. So back 3, yeah, then you'd have Asensio, Rudiger and Huijsen. What a back 3 that is, wow.
Yeah, and then Huijsen carry it. Oh, it's going to be very good. And if they get if the Spaniards and the Brazilians want to play the pressing intensity that Alonso played at Leverkusen, then it could be very dangerous.
God, yep.
And they could win another Champions League very, very easily.
For sure. It's super exciting, especially for Madrid fans, obviously.
Yeah, that'll be a fun watch this season, definitely.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But on Madrid, we'll mention another one that's not on the list. Well, actually, no, we'll come to him in a minute. I think it's the person here. We'll come to him because he's probably on your list, I think.
Trent?
No.
No.
Okay, we'll come to it in a minute if you don't mention it.
Who did it? Oh, I know who you're on about. Yeah.
2 more on my done deals list. Bellingham, Sunderland to Dortmund for about £27 million. We'll only touch on these 2 quickly because it's 2 Sunderlands. And then Enzo Lefebvre, Roma to Sunderland, the obligation to buy because they got promoted for about £20 million. So we'll start on Lefebvre. I mean, they needed him. Like, he was one of the big differences for them coming up and not going up. It'll be very important for them in the Premier League. Only £20 million, very cheap for a player of his quality. Bit of experience as well. Had a lot of experience with Roma. And then Bellingham leaving to Dortmund. Not surprised about that. It's a big step up, of course.
Yes.
I'm slightly surprised he didn't do a season in the Prem and then go.
Yeah, for a bit more experience, I guess. That's true.
It's an opportunity you can't really turn down.
I was going to say they might not be there next year, Dortmund. Plus, he's following in his brother's footsteps, which I said to you, I was like, why do you want to follow in his shadow? But I imagine if it's worked for his brother, that sort of trajectory, and the club's obviously been good to them.
I don't think he's following in his brother's footsteps.
Well, the dream would surely be to play for Madrid like most players is. So if he goes to Dortmund, you never know.
Well, any player's dream.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes to Madrid, really.
Yeah.
But Dortmund put an offer in for him. That's the best club that's put the offer in for him.
Oh, supposedly. Yeah, if that's true, then yeah, that would also make sense. But I
Then,
think it's also nice to know your brother's played there, had a good experience there. That can always
yeah,
help,
of course, and that
for
probably
sure.
had a bit of impact on his decision. But
Mm.
you probably are picking Dortmund over Frankfurt at the end of the day.
Yes. Yeah, makes sense.
So I don't agree with the people that say he's following in his brother's footsteps. It's just happened that
Mm.
Dortmund.
Yeah, as in factually, it looks like that in terms of he's made that move at this age to Dortmund. But yeah, it's obviously not, as you said, it's more complex.
Yeah, because they've put an offer in. You're not going to say no, are you?
No, that is true.
Yeah, Sunderland will be an interesting watch in the Premier League next season.
Mm.
Hope they can stay up. It's the youngest squad in the Championship to come up.
Um,
So, yeah. But we will now move on to the rumours/deals that are close.
Do you want me to kick it off?
Yeah, I'll let you kick this one off as well.
Okay, this is the biggest one first. Obviously, Florian Wirtz. I think it's literally imminent. I don't know how.
Yeah, that's
why
all
they,
done.
yeah, why they haven't announced it yet. They've agreed a deal of 116 million. So that's £100, and then 100 pounds. That would be lovely.
Yeah.
£100 million and the £16 million add-on.
Yeah.
Yeah, 22-year-old attacking midfielder. I don't even know why I'm saying that. I think everyone is aware of him. But yeah, what a player. I mean, there is, as we said, that debate of whether he'll flop or not, but I completely don't think he will. I mean, in the team that they're building, it's incredible. That midfield is going to be mad. You've got the McAllisters, the Szoboszlais, Gravenberch. Just, yeah, it's mad to see. And I think he is, yeah, just an exceptional talent. So not much else to say. He's got everything in his locker, different passing, shooting abilities. Dribbling, of course, is probably one of his key attributes. And yeah, also quite versatile, I think, as an attacker. Central midfielder, obviously mostly attacking, but can be a winger too. So yeah, there's a lot to like about him. I think stats wise, he scored 10 goals in 31 league matches, which isn't, I don't know, that doesn't strike out to me as like a lot, but at the same time, I think that's a very solid figure. And the second top goal scorer for Leverkusen, I think, last season, and that was only second to Patrick Schick, I think that's how you pronounce his name, who scored 21 in 31 as their striker, which would make the most sense. And 13 assists, which I think is also very impressive to have that sort of balance. So yeah, I think it's going to help Liverpool continue their dominance. I think that's what a lot of people are now suggesting, is they're not just happy with one title like when they won it. Was it 2019-20, I believe, or 2020-21, and then they just sort of fell off after that. I think they're wanting to build a team for the future.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think he's a £116 million player.
No, personally, that's a
But
massive
it's kind
price
of
tag.
the fee you have to pay to get when there's competition from City and Bayern. I agree. I don't think he's going to flop. I think he's going to do pretty well.
Yes.
Definitely second season. I think once he's adapted to the Premier League, will do very, very well. It's not. I mean, he becomes, if all the add-ons are met, becomes the most expensive transfer in Premier League history. £1 million more than Moises Caicedo. But I don't think there's much to say on him. Everyone knows Florian Wirtz, and they know the price tag. And it hasn't. Well, it might have been announced because we're recording this on Saturday. The window opens Monday. We'll say today because the video's coming out on Monday, which is today. So it might have been announced then, but they probably haven't announced it yet because the medical and that's not done.
Yes.
And the window is technically shut. It is shut, but it's stupid that they've had
for another day. Yeah.
But yeah, I think very, very good signing when it goes through.
Yes.
On to my first one on my list. Sticking with Liverpool.
Oh.
Darwin Núñez.
Yes.
Supposedly a guarantee to leave Liverpool this window, with Napoli supposedly looking at him and Saudi clubs.
Sorry, my mic was off there. Yeah, that's an interesting move. I mean, I think he was never really gonna, I don't know, impress at Liverpool, or at least the fans weren't entirely convinced with his performances. A lot of misses and sort of, I guess, not a striker's instinct. I don't know. There were glimpses where I thought he was quite good. Like some goals he'd scored, I was like, this man's got promise. Naturally, why he joined them. But I guess it's the right time. Not sure how Liverpool will fill that striker role.
Hugo Ekitike.
Oh, so they're interested as well, like Chelsea.
Well, apparently Liverpool
Wow.
much more ahead of Chelsea.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But
that would be incredible.
Will they pay the €100 million, £100 million?
But they've already spent 116.
Yeah, they have the money. They have, as I said to you a few weeks ago, they have a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And it would be a shame to see Núñez leave. I loved him when he was at Benfica. Brighton tried to get him. Love his profile. is the perfect modern day striker. Fast, athletic, strong, pretty good on the ball. But his finishing is not.
I was going to say, on paper that sounds great, but doesn't.
Finishing lets him down.
Yeah.
If he was that clinical finisher, then he'd probably be one of the best strikers in the Premier League.
Yes.
It's just a shame that his finishing lets him down, but Liverpool will replace him and then they'll be fine. I don't think it'll be too big of a loss.
Be interesting if he goes to Saudi. I don't know what age he is, but I wouldn't like to see that happen.
27, 28?
He might be tempted then. Well, yeah, you will be tempted, but...
Yeah. It depends. If Napoli make an offer, I could see him going there. That'd be quite a fun link-up De Bruyne.
Yeah, I was going to say. Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, on to your second close still rumour list.
This one's a really interesting one, because when I was writing these notes originally, I thought he was mostly linked to Bayern Munich, and I think that would make sense because, of course, they've lost Leroy Sané on the wing, so I'm talking about Nico Williams, who currently plays for Athletic Club Bilbao. I think he's incredible. I mean, I'm surprised he's at that club in terms of when I watched him during, I think it was the Euros, I was super impressed with everything that he could do. And yeah, obviously he's still at that club and potentially is going to make a move. It was originally to Bayern, but now it seems more like Barcelona, although they're also interested in Luis Diaz, which is another one that I sort of linked to later. But no, he's obviously a brilliant player, but apparently no agreement has been reached with either club just yet because of the fact that he wants to be holding out for wages around £325,000 a week, which sounds obviously extortionate, but I guess he has certain sort of things that he wants to reach, so I'm sure the club, one or the two of the clubs will agree that. But yeah, it said on the Evening Standard, I think it was, that he was originally giving the Bundesliga champions, so obviously Bayern Munich, the encouragement to sign him, and they'd be willing to move. And then most recently he spoke with Barcelona, I think this came out yesterday, and he's given them the green light, sort of says that he'd like to join them. So I'm not entirely sure, but I think for Barcelona, obviously they've got Rafinha and Lamine Yamal. There's two incredible wingers. I'm like, what a team that would be if they can also acquire Williams. I mean, I don't know how anyone's stopping them. Obviously they won La Liga last season by 4 points, so they're trying to continue that sort of pattern. But yeah, he's obviously highly wanted by a lot of clubs. I think Arsenal, he's like their number one on their list, but I think they should obviously also be prioritising a striker, which they are. So highly wanted, although it says here 5 goals and 5 assists last season, and that was in 29 league matches. So obviously not the best stats, but I guess his potential is quite high. But either club would be a brilliant move. I think obviously Bayern have got wingers in Elise, and obviously Williams would join him with Sané leaving, and Kingsley Coman. So yeah, both incredible sides. I'm not sure which he would favour. It seems slightly like Barcelona.
I mean, yeah, probably would.
Being Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a feeling that's a lot of agent talk.
Yeah.
The Barcelona thing to try and get the Bayern.
Really, you think he'd prefer to go Bayern?
I don't know if Barcelona will really be an option. I mean, I think it'd be cool to see him at Barcelona, but Bayern need him with Sané and Coman leaving.
Oh, they're both leaving?
Coman is likely to leave.
Okay, I know that obviously, yeah, they've still got Elise there. I knew Sané was leaving. I thought Coman was staying.
No, I think he wants
to. That's interesting.
But, I mean, fees a release clause. I'm not sure what the release clause is.
Oh, I wrote that around £50 million.
Yeah, that's nothing for both of them. Well, Barcelona don't really have any money, but they keep pulling out the sky somehow. But the wage is an interesting one. He'll make a move. I'm pretty confident he'll make a move.
Oh yeah, I think he'll definitely leave. I mean, as I said, both options are great. I think the complication, which is further down when I discuss Luis Diaz, is the fact that they also want him, and they're very close apparently to agreeing a deal because he definitely wants out of Liverpool. Thinks it's obviously the right time. So yeah, I don't know if they obviously want Diaz. I can't imagine Barcelona would get Diaz and Williams.
Yeah, I mean it'll be one or the other, and then the other one will go the other way.
Yes, potentially. I don't know if Diaz would be open to a move to Bayern. I'm sure anywhere's better than obviously Liverpool, where he doesn't feel wanted.
Yeah. Saudi, I could see Diaz in Saudi.
Yes, I don't know how old he is. 28, I think I wrote down here. Yeah, so yeah, getting to that age, yeah.
But yeah, next on the list is another Brighton player, pretty much a done deal. That is Diego Coppola, Hellas Verona to Brighton for about £10 million. 21-year-old Italian centre-back made his Italian national team debut last week before, is now with the Italy under-21s at the under-21s Euros. The deal hasn't been announced yet because of that, but it'll be announced when the next window opens. Very, very good defensively. was some concerns about his ball playing ability because Hellas Verona sat very deep, didn't really play with the ball that much. But looking at him for Italy was very, very good on the ball. I don't think that'll be a problem. Was wanted by some big clubs. Bournemouth, Juve were looking at him supposedly.
I think it was Tottenham as well. And
Yeah, Tottenham were very
yeah.
keen to play, apparently. But £10 million, can't complain. Italy cap, 21. Fantastic. Fantastic signing.
Yeah, what a move. And did you say he was how old?
21.
Yeah, 21. That's incredible. Yeah, should be really exciting.
Yeah, Brighton actually have some defensive quality heading into the season. Van Heck, Olivier Boscagli, whenever that's announced. Diego Coppola, Adam Webster, Lewis Dunk. Igor's probably going to leave. Pervis, Estupinan's probably going to leave. Lamptey's still.
Yeah, that's true.
Pedro.
If we're talking about defence, Pedro doesn't come into that, but
Veltman stays. Kadioglu, bringing a new left back, a new right back, and I think the defence is pretty much set for the season. Be interesting to see who partners Van Heck when the season starts.
For sure.
But
Webster's had trouble with injuries, but then so has Dunk, last season. So it's good that you've got Boscagli to be coming in as well.
Yeah, I think Boscagli will probably be starting with Van Heck.
Yeah, because he's only 27, did you say?
Yeah.
He's got a lot more experience,
On the ball, he's ridiculous.
Wow.
He's in the 99th percentile for all his ball playing stats.
Jesus, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's very good. And then Coppola, defensively, is exactly what we need. A player that's going to put his body on the line. A bit like Dunk, which is nice to have that. Because I think we were guilty last season of not having defenders that defended.
So to speak, I get you.
Yeah. A bit like Trent.
Yeah.
I mean, people say he can't defend. He can defend. Just
not as strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was the case for a lot of our players last season, but Coppola solves that, hopefully.
Yes, yeah.
But now, on to your third option.
Woo. This one is so up in the air right now. It's Jack Grealish. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him on and off pitch. But there's links to Everton and Newcastle, but no bids yet. Like, no formal, trying to attempt to sign him. So it's really interesting. I saw a BBC article on that, and it's just obviously the fact that there aren't many suitors who are interested, I guess, because of his recent performances for City and lack of, in terms of obviously not playing too much. Was left out for the FA Cup final, which I was shocked at, then was left out on the final day of the season. Obviously isn't part of the Club World Cup squad, so it's literally 100% obviously certain that he's going to have to make a move, and that's why he's obviously remained in England to get that done. But I'm not sure who's actually going to sweep in for him. I'm hoping obviously Everton or Newcastle will table a bid soon, but I think they were saying that they're quite cautious due to the £300,000 weekly wages which he's on, so I think that will definitely deter those two clubs. So I don't know, potentially have to I don't know how it works, like take a weekly wage cut. Like surely you don't have to be on the same price of 300,000 a week.
No, but why would you want to drop down?
But then I don't know if he has to, like, if he would just stay at City then, because obviously his contract is till 2027. So there you go. He might do that.
300. I don't think he cares if he plays anymore. £300,000 for the next 2 years.
No, it's true.
Doing nothing.
Yeah, potentially that could happen. I mean, there was a loan move that they were saying would solve the situation.
I think a loan will be what happens.
Yeah, that would make probably the most sense right now. And then I guess City can sort of make that decision. And I don't know if Jack's actually too bothered. It'd be interesting to do an interview in terms of does he want to revitalise his City career. So I feel like he's tried so much and just fallen out of favour with Pep. So I don't know if that will ever happen. He only played, what was it? Well, he actually played 32 games in total, which I was shocked at throughout in all the competitions, not just the league. But his stats speak for itself, 3 goals and 5 assists. Obviously, that's nowhere near the levels that City would have hoped for, and neither Jack would have. So, not sure. There's not too many concrete links. But it's a shame the way it's gone. I think all the City fans, personally, from my perspective, are thankful to what he's done. And it's just a shame it sort of worked out this way. Whereas you said, he's sort of had his creativity sucked out of him. Yeah.
I mean, a loan is, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. It'll be a deal in the window. Potentially we'll have a panic buy from someone like, what springs to mind, Everton and Alex Iwobi spent £40 million on deadline day because they needed another attacker midfielder. I could very much see that happening.
That's true. If we can talk about Everton and Newcastle quickly, do we think you'd excel at either club maybe more so than the other?
Newcastle, absolutely not.
No. That's
No, I just don't see it.
They've already got good wingers as well.
I'd like to see him under David Moyes.
Interesting. How come?
I think he'd let him be the main man and
Be
do
what he
it.
wants.
Yeah.
That's a shout. Yeah. I just hope wherever he goes, he does better. Sort of feels, as you said, a bit more free.
Yeah. Feeding
We'll
the ball
see.
into the box to whoever they have up front next season, which we'll come on to.
That's
a bit
true.
later.
What's your next one?
My next one on the list is actually a deal that went through last night, annoyingly, but I'm going to chuck it in this section. A player that I told you need to remember this, and you should quote me on this, about 4 months ago, I said, remember this name.
Okay. Did I remember the name?
For Real Madrid,
Yes.
£40 million.
Sorry, who?
Franco Mastantuono.
Yes, I remember the name. Yes, I do.
Remember the name? Just signed for Madrid, £40 million.
Yes.
The next Messi.
Wow.
I'm so confident this kid, he's 17, 18. I think he's 17 still. This kid is going to be ridiculous.
What, like Messi level?
Yeah.
As you said, Messi. Wow. Where's he at, sorry, before moving to Madrid?
River Plate.
River Plate. Oh, okay, so that was where Alvarez came from, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, yeah, I don't know too much about him, but I remember you told me to remember the name, and that is a big move. And would you say 40 million is obviously quite a lot, because he's literally 17?
A lot for a 17-year-old, but a 17-year-old that's ripping the Argentine league off.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Probably.
I mean, Real Madrid are lucky, because they'll probably make his release clause so expensive, a bit like we've seen with Barcelona with Lamine Yamal. It's like 1 billion, so no one will ever be able to get hold of this kid when he obviously hits those higher heights. It's a shame they've nabbed someone young.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like that they're going for a player like him. He still doesn't go through until August.
Okay.
Because I think that's when he turns 18.
That would make sense. Legal situation. Wow. Do you think he'll play much, though?
Yes.
Really? Where will he fit in that team?
Yavi plays him in his advanced 10. Like, he has to.
The
kid is ridiculous. The kid is ridiculous.
Wow. I need to get on those, compilation videos and start watching his highlights.
I think it was I'm not sure. Who's River Plate's rivals? Potentially Boca. I'm not entirely sure. But, God, 17-year-old in the derby, he's got the ball, put it about 40 yards out, 40 yards out free kick, and he just pinged it top bins.
Oh, wow. I didn't even hear of this. That's incredible.
Like nothing. Like
the audacity.
It's like glue. His feet are like glue.
Wow.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. And
Bernardo Silva 2.0. We call him Bubblegum.
Probably a lot better than Bernardo Silva.
Yeah. But as in the bubblegum factor, the fact that he can hold onto the ball and it just doesn't leave him. That was sort of... But yeah, Messi level is, off the charts if that does happen.
But yeah, this is probably my favourite deal of the whole window.
Wow. There you go.
When you've got PSG and Real Madrid fighting for the signature of a 17-year-old.
That's true. Oh, so PSG were interested as well. That would make sense.
He was very close to PSG.
Oh, okay, really?
Very close to PSG. I'm glad he didn't come to England, as we've spoken about before. His whole creativity would have just been ripped from him.
Yeah.
Liverpool were very keen on him, though.
Oh, so they were in it as well. Wow, so you had 3 different teams.
Yeah, that was more in January, Liverpool.
Okay.
And then PSG were very close, and then Madrid come in. Argentine kid's dream is you're going to play for one of the big 3 Spanish teams, aren't you?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, keep an eye on him this season.
I will. I remember
really hope he plays.
Yes. Otherwise, loan? I don't think they'd ever loan him, would they? Unless he needs the experience. No?
I don't think he wants to either.
No, exactly.
But on to your next...
My
number 4.
final one. This is basically... I don't know if I should have left it with this one, because we've already sort of spoken about him, but Luis Diaz to Barcelona seems to be progressing a lot more. As we said, 20, I know, I left him as my last one. 28-year-old left winger. Reportedly around 51 million pounds that Liverpool are willing to let him go for. Obviously, we don't know how long the contract is or anything yet because it's still not done. But obviously, that would decide whether Nico Williams joins Barcelona, as we were already saying. But yeah, it was reported by Spanish media literally yesterday that the Colombian has decided it's the right time to leave. He's made up his mind, been at Liverpool 3.5 seasons. He impressed me and my dad at one point. We watched him a lot and thought, wow, this kid is something special. And then sort of has obviously gone off the boil, maybe gone out a bit of favour. I'm not sure because he's played... Did I write down how many games he's played this season? Don't think I have, but he hasn't obviously played as many as he'd like. And you've got Gakpo as well now coming through, who I know you're a fan of. So I think he's not really going to get a look in with Salah and then Gakpo. And whoever
Well,
else they obviously acquire, you've got Wirtz. So yeah, it's incredible. And they haven't offered him a contract extension. I think that's a massive factor for Diaz, as he's not even wanted. Obviously, his contract ends in 2027. So it seems like before it runs out, he's obviously going to make that move. But yeah, not much else to say really on that. I think Liverpool, willing to let him go, and that he's Barcelona's top target right now.
well, he's an interesting one. He was before he went to Liverpool, was at Porto, was
Yes.
reportedly very, very close to joining us
Okay.
to play
Wow.
wing back under Graham
Yes.
Potter.
Ooh, that would have been exciting.
But the Liverpool come in, was very good at Liverpool. I thought he was fantastic, and it's kind of died off the last few years. But
Yeah.
that happens quite a lot. And Barcelona would be a good move for him. I hope it happens. Deserves to go and play, especially after all the things that happened to his family.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, we'll see.
there is one name that I thought you were going to have on your list that I said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a few down, like on just a list. I had Naipan, obviously Gyökeres and Sesko, but those are the only ones I think are sort of good to mention. But I didn't put them in my list, so no.
Well, we're talking about Madrid.
Yes,
And a player that might be leaving that I thought you were going to mention.
not Rodrigo.
Rodrigo.
Yeah, he was. Oh, sorry. Oh, wow. I think I've got this wrong. So I've got number 5 as Luis Diaz. I thought we were on to our last ones. I've skipped Rodrigo, which was my number 4. So Rodrigo was on my list.
Yeah, we'll talk about Rodrigo quickly.
Jumped one ahead. But yeah, it seems pretty unlikely. I think that may be why subconsciously I skipped past him. But yeah, there was obviously links with Arsenal, Chelsea, a bit of City, but unfortunately not too much because we're happy with obviously Savinho and Doku. But yeah, 24-year-old winger, apparently going to be around 68 million if he was to leave. But literally it came out yesterday via Real Madrid Confidential, which is like this big news outlet over there, that Rodrigo's future is now certain, that he wants to remain. He had a meeting with Xavi and it went really well. Oh, sorry, how do you pronounce his name? You pronounced it better than I did. It's not Xavi, is it?
It's Javi.
Javi, sorry, yeah. So he had a meeting with Javi Alonso, and yeah, he's decided to stay, and that the manager really wants him in his setup, thinks he'll suit the style which he obviously had at Leverkusen, which is fast, dynamic, and versatile players, which is obviously what he would sort of fit in that category. But I don't know how much of that I believe, because you've obviously got Vinicius Jr., all these different players, Jude Bellingham, and then Mbappe. So I'm like, okay, how much will he actually play? Because he obviously hasn't played as much as he'd like to. So I don't know. I don't think it would take a 360 at this point after that meeting and the fact that he's very happy, supposedly. So I don't know, but it would have been a massive move if Arsenal managed to get him. I think they were the front runners.
Well, it's still a possibility, I would say.
Yeah.
It goes round every window, but I think he will stay. He'll play on the right. They don't really have any other right-sided players. Valverde's played there a little bit, but much better in the middle.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, seems he'll stay, which is a shame.
Sticking with Madrid, another one.
Yes.
Leaving Madrid. Going over to Italy on a free.
Ooh.
It's Luka Modric.
Yes, that's true.
That is very, very close to happening, all but done basically. 40-year-old, had a fantastic career. Go and finish it in Italy. Why not?
Yeah. Fair enough. Credit to him.
I mean, a Luka Modric AC Milan shirt is going to be one of the coolest shirts you're going to get in 10, 20 years' time. That's going to be like the proper old school Milan shirt. It's going to be really cool. But on to my last one. A player that I've spoken to you a lot about. A player that could stay at his club, said he's happy to stay at his club, and he's going to take a big fee, I think. Chelsea supposedly open talks, which I'm not very happy about. But Everton also want this player.
Yeah.
Brighton also want this player. Scored a hat-trick last week for the Germany under-21s in the Euros, and that is Nick Woltermard. Wow, what a player. 23 years old. He's 6'6", something like that. Big build, strong, physical, fast, but he'd also like Messi on the ball.
What a combination.
It shouldn't work. It just shouldn't work.
No,
but he's the perfect modern-day striker.
Wow.
And I've got down here on my list, Premier League. Just Premier League. Because I think if he moves, it will be to the Premier League. And if Chelsea get him, he'll be their number one striker. If Everton get him, that will be very scary of how David Moyes likes to play with those big physical players.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love him at Brighton. I think his pressing would be very good for us. Hot link-up plays is all right, not the best, not the worst, but on the ball, I think he's, as I said, the perfect striker to come to the Premier League.
Yeah, makes sense. As we were saying right at the beginning, it's sort of like a full circle moment at the beginning of this pod. We were saying we need physical strikers, and as you said, you really want one of those at Brighton. I mean, Jack and Voldemar will link up if they both went to Everton. Would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, that's exactly like when I was talking about Jack, what I was going to mention.
Yeah.
I mean, his balls into the box. Oh, it
Yeah.
could be. I mean, and Jai on the other side as well.
That's crazy. What a team. Yeah, it could be exciting. Could be the revival.
Wild card next season to get European football.
Everton.
Yep.
Wow.
Look
Yeah,
at
but
that.
you'd have to say.
Moyes.
Pardon?
Look at the end of the season with Moyes when he took over.
True. Yeah, they did have an upturn. That's potentially. I don't know. Europe, big call. If they get Voldemar, to be fair, that does make sense.
I don't think they will get him, but they will get a striker because Calvert-Lewin's going to go on a free. But yeah, I mean, I think that's everything we've got covered on the transfer side of things.
Yes.
There's one more thing to talk about. I've had permission from someone whose name we are not going to mention because they do not want it mentioned for the time being. But exciting announcement. I'm allowed to say it. I've had permission because this pod will be out after the announcement, after the website has gone live. Monday, I'm not sure what time it would have gone live, but a few hours ago, the Brighton base on X, it is a site, well, it's a X page set up by someone. I'm trying very hard not to mention their name. It's very close to mentioning their name, but does lots of reposts for Brighton news, transfers, quotes, anything like that. They have now set up a website where it's going to be hard, fast news coming to you as soon as it comes out. There'll be an article up on it very quickly. Me and Annabel have been working very hard this past week. We're part of the team with a couple of other people getting articles ready, so go and check them out on the Brighton base website. Lots of pieces, quotes pieces, as we say, on Ayari. I can't remember what else we've done. João Pedro, Minte, Percy Tau. Then some news regarding Victor Gyökeres, and loads of other things like that. So go check it out. It's a very big project, and yeah, we're trying to push it as hard as we can. But hope there'll be hope coming to you each day. Hopefully, I think the plan is 2 articles a day. We shall see how that goes. But yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah, for sure. Should be brilliant.
As I said, I'll put the link, if I can, in this description, because when I set this podcast to go live, the link won't be ready yet. But yeah, go and check out the Brighton base, as I say. But thanks for coming on, Annabel.
No worries, a pleasure as always.
Be back in a couple of weeks, in a few weeks, to do the second part of this transfer roundup with deals that go through when the window has reopened now. Yeah, I will see you all next time. You all know that the outro by now. We haven't had it for a couple of weeks.
Oh God.
What do you think of the background? I'm hoping the green screen's worked, but we will see how the editing goes. Thought I'd change it up a little bit. Adios.